And we are coming at you live, the Mad Bomber podcast, brought to you by Johnny's Donuts. And if you don't know what Johnny's Donuts are, go to Dublin and try a few or two or three. And you are watching the Mad Bomber podcast.
The Tank Bowl.
That's right, folks. With both fan bases begging for annihilation, the opportunity is now.
It's truly the art of competitive losing. Got to respect the real ones tuning in tonight.
Well, I was at the Tank Bowl this weekend. And I'm going to have someone come on who you guys are all familiar with, who actually went to his very, 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 very first game. We were there Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. These days are growing into each other. So we have the Oracle, who was at the game this weekend. Oracle, you had your very first Las Vegas Raider experience this weekend. And without further ado, the mic is yours, dog. Tell us when you got up that morning all the way till the start of game time, what was the experience for you?
Well, to quote a really good friend of ours, I've never had it so good. And starting with, first of all, Allegiant Stadium is a great place to watch a game. And I love the fact that you have all these hotels like the Mandalay Bay, the Luxor, the Excalibur, just right across the bridge right there. See, Allegiant Stadium was built at a very similar time to SoFi Stadium. And with SoFi Stadium, you got to pay $100 for parking, or you got to take an Uber from 2 miles away. And with Allegiant Stadium, I'm in my hotel room. I'm hanging out at the casino, at the sports book. Not gambling, but just kind of, I like to hang out and kind of people watch a little bit. And then I get to head over to an NFL game. And not only that, I get to meet some tremendous people. I can't believe I got to meet not only Leonard and Charles Ybarra at the Dark Side tailgate. Charles Ybarra is the famous Darth Raider. But then some guy named Lincoln Kennedy comes over and starts hanging out with us and getting to talk with him, telling stories about Jerry Glanville and Johnny Cash.
Talk about that one real quick, because I love that story.
So on the Locked On Raiders podcast, they have the squad show with Q, Chantel, and Lincoln Kennedy. And Lincoln Kennedy a couple weeks ago was telling a story about how when he was with Atlanta and Jerry Glanville was the coach, one time Jerry Glanville just stopped practice because Johnny Cash was there, and he drove up in a Cadillac. And Lincoln saying, we're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Is this really the time to be stopping practice to introduce Johnny Cash? Can we do this before or after? So I had to ask him about that. And then just hearing him just tell a bunch of old Raider stories with some cool stuff. A lot of cool people at the Dark Side tailgate. There was a season ticket holder from Hawaii, a woman that I met. She's on a season ticket holder now, but she was back when they were in LA and in Oakland. But and then I go inside the by the way, the food there was tremendous. I don't know how Charles and Leonard cooked that chicken. The chicken tasted like ribs. I'm like, this is amazing. However they cooked that chicken, they put some really good flavor and seasoning, and they probably marinated it too. So it was really good stuff. Then I go inside the stadium. There's Rich Gannon with JT the Brick and Eric Allen too. As you saw the picture there with Eric Allen. Eric Allen, who lives here in San Diego, went to Point Loma High School, in the Hall of Fame. So getting to see him was very cool. I've seen him a couple times actually in San Diego. He's always been very nice and gracious and cordial. Just a real dude's dude, approachable.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer, yeah, definitely. Played with those great Eagles teams too, along with the Raiders. And then Rich Gannon as well. Didn't expect to see him there. He kind of came along at the end, but it was cool to see him as well. And get a picture with him. Very nice, very approachable as well. Get to see a former MVP, two-time All-Pro. So went to a Super Bowl, and it was really good seeing JT the Brick too light the torch at the game and get inducted into the Raiders. The Black Hole Hall of Fame, the first guy to be inducted in there. So that was also a good sight to see. JT the Brick is a Jersey guy. I'm a Jersey guy. So it was cool to see two Jersey guys, me being a Jersey guy and him as well. So I definitely felt like I was there at the right time. And the only thing that was a little bit of a Debbie Downer was the stadium was quiet. And look, when people talk about Raider games who really have not been to a Raider game, they talk about, oh my God, it's so scary going to these Raider games. You're going to get jumped in the parking lot if you wear an opposing team's jersey. I actually, before I went to the Dark Side tailgate, I was walking around a little bit trying to find you, and I saw all these people tailgating. There was loud music and everything. And there were Giants fans there tailgating as well, which was kind of a little bit interesting to see. I don't know if that would have been the case back in at the Coliseum. But nonetheless, it's what I saw. I definitely felt like I got it from the tailgate. I got to see kind of that Raiders flavor a little bit from just the loud music, the craziness, the silver and black everywhere. You could just smell barbecue all over the place, burgers, a lot of smoke just coming off the grill.
David Freitas wants to talk about the prawns.
The prawns. What are the prawns?
That was the shrimp.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was some good stuff. Yeah.
No, so the sauce is from Lincoln Kennedy's restaurant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, see, you got to learn something every time you're on the Bad Barber podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Hey.
And I wanted to ask you, Oracle. I know you gave me a call. And you go, hey, where are you? And I said, hey, we're over at the Dark Side. Dude, you were there like within seconds. Now, at the Dark Side tailgate, if you notice, there was Giants fans there. And they were very gracious. There was a few guys there from Atlanta that were at the tailgate. And Charles and Leonard are so inviting. Again, this is why the Dark Side tailgate is second to none, in my opinion. And I remember back in the Oakland days when it was just, 20 yards long, 10 yards wide. And I've showed it when Leonard was on. But these guys, and again, Leonard and Charles did not want to lose that game. And remember, you would talk to them. These guys are Raider fans. They're
exactly.
Like, hey man, they were trying to do. They were quoting the great Max Crosby. I don't give a shit about the first round draft choice. I just want to win. And so those guys, and again, starting next year, I already talked to the Raiders about getting a lot parking pass. I want to be a part of that moving forward, and getting to the game, and then after the game, Oracle. I'm thinking about doing the after game show next year, every game from the Dark Side tailgate.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Well, the traffic's got to get out. I'm not going to sit there and get in the scrum, as they would say. And if you're in Philadelphia and you run the tush push, the scrum push. But, that is something that one of my best friends, Dave Freitas, said was, God, you got to go there. And I'm always hesitant going to tailgates. I've been to tailgates before where you walk up and the guys are all, hey, man, you Raider fan? Yeah. Well, how long you been a Raider fan? I don't know, like maybe 20 years. Well, I've been a Raider fan for 22. Got to go. And, you're playing like who's got the biggest Johnson contest. And it's like, I don't know. I'd just rather go in and watch the kickers kick. I'm a guy that likes to go in early, as everybody knows. And so being at that tailgate, smelling the food, eating the food, and the camaraderie that you feel as not just a Raider fan, as a football fan in general in Las Vegas, while Oracle was chewing it up with with Big Link, and I think you called him Link, right? You guys are on first name basis right now.
That may have slipped out. At first I kind of wanted to be professional. Just say not professional but cordial. Say Lincoln, not a Mr. Kennedy, but I may have slipped in a Link here and there, just getting a little more comfortable around him.
But not only that, like you said, the lady from Hawaii, I spoke with her as well. And then just the people around there, they have the red zone on. So they've got chairs in front of the red zone. I'm darksidetailgate.com. If you're going to the Kansas City game, I know Oracle had the time of his life there. But now that you were there, you're chewing up the fat with people, and you walk into that stadium for the very, very, very first time. And Oracle, you've been a part of this, and I'm going to be interviewing you right now before we do the Oracle film studies. But walking into that stadium, it is gorgeous. I want you to explain. You walk in, and then you see the field, you see the seats. You actually sat with me. I sat in my seats for the first time in years this year because I have my beautiful granddaughter. I wanted to experience the game with her. But I want you to explain to everybody what it was like for you and for us, for the very first Raider game. What did you see? What did you think? And then, are you hooked? Are you Raiders?
Oh, I'm hooked, baby. I'm definitely hooked. And I think the thing that really hooked me was even before I got to the Dark Side tailgate, just really seeing the Raider fans from a firsthand basis and just seeing the costumes, the barbecues, and just kind of seeing all the old jerseys and the history. With the Giants, you see a lot of Lawrence Taylor jerseys, but
Yes.
I feel like with the Raiders, you'll see a Jim Otto jersey. You'll see a Tim Brown jersey. You'll see a Howie Long jersey. You'll see a Gene Upshaw jersey. So I feel like you get a lot of really good kind of variety. And you'll see the Max Crosby jerseys, Ashton Janty jerseys. You won't see a Geno Smith jersey. But
I'll
tell you what, the loudest the stadium got was when Geno came out and they booed him. Other than that, I kind of felt like I was at Pebble Beach for a little bit. It kind of felt like it was a little bit like a golf match. And it was one of the more quiet football games that I've been to. But besides that, when I first got in there, the thing that really blew me away was all the art on the lower level where you kind of walk through and you just get to see a lot of the old pictures of Las Vegas. I thought that was a real nice touch that the stadium did. I went down to the basement, I guess, where they have the big Raider image store. Saw a line that we probably me and my dad would have had to wait like 45 minutes just to get something. If I was with my mom, we would have been in that line. But because I was with my dad, he's like, let's just get the heck out of here and not spend any money. But it was just a really good time. And the $2.99 hot dogs, getting to enjoy that. And then getting to kind of walk around the stadium. I had good seats in the 300. I was in section 335, and I got a good view of everything. It's always good when you have an upper deck seat and you have a pretty good view of the field. So I thought it was look, overall, I was really impressed. Even when sitting in your seats, had a really good time. Was able to see everything pretty clearly.
Yes.
And it would have been nice to stand up with you. I was kind of looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie, and get to mingle with all the other people. But overall, I had a good time. It would have been nice if the Raiders played better, but everyone's happy they got a step closer to the number 1 overall pick. So, look, Raider fans found a way to be satisfied.
On your way out, what did you feel like? I stayed till the end. I wanted to watch, especially when I saw Charles Grant come in, Kenny Pickett in at the end. So I was glued to the field. I wanted to see everything that the Raiders have, because it seemed like we got to see some rookies, and we're going to get into that film here soon. I just felt like you said, Oracle, that crowd, and listening to the shows going on my way home. I always listen to the morning drive, the Vince Pazienza, Clay Baker show. I'm always listening to that show, and frequently a caller on that show. And everyone that was in that stadium that called in to the radio shows, even on the JT show, it's a long drive home, guys. So it's a beautiful drive when you win. It's a horrible drive when you lose. But it was weird. This drive home was a little bit different. Are we going for the Fernando Mendoza sweepstakes? We got a bunch of games coming up this weekend that if you're a Raider fan out there and you're watching this podcast, what's the highlights now? Now that you know that you've secured one of the top 2 picks. This was a post today from Vinny Bonsignore, actually from Doug Analytics, to Vinny Bonsignore. The Raiders actually could win the game on Sunday against the Chiefs if this scenario happens. If Seattle wins, hold on. If Seattle loses against the Niners, okay, that's a chance. What is it, 50-50 maybe? Okay. Cleveland beats Cincinnati. Or no, let me redo that. If Seattle, Cleveland, and Atlanta all lose, okay, Seattle, Cleveland, Atlanta. Sorry, fellas, I'm a little off tonight. Cincinnati should beat Cleveland. I mean, I would say that's a 90% chance. And Atlanta, New Orleans, that's another 50-50 game. So if we go in at, we're playing at 125 on Sunday afternoon, we could go into that game already with the secured first pick, even if the Giants win. Okay. So if we go into that game, then you can sit at your seats and not root for the tank if you're that guy. Or if you're like Charles and Leonard, you're going to go ahead and say, hell yeah, let's knock Kelsey and Taylor to the curb. So there's going to be a lot of scenarios. We'll be following it. I follow it on Twitter all the time. And at that point, we'll know if we're going to be getting the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick. With Atlanta's win over the Rams the other night, that puts the Jets out. If we tie them, we would have a strength of schedule advantage over them. So now, Oracle, before we get into the film, if you're John Spytek, I'm going to have you put your Spytek hat on, even though you have that Sacramento Black Hole hat on. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steven Chavez. What do you do?
Well, what you just broke down was best case scenario. And look, it would be great if the Raiders could have their cake and eat it too. Beat Kansas City to end the season. That would be great. And wind up with the number 1 overall pick. That would be phenomenal. However, look, you don't get paid the big bucks to just have the best case scenario. You got to plan out the worst case scenarios. So what would the worst case scenario be? So the Raiders have secured a top 2 pick. Now, I think the game on Sunday that we were at, Johnny, was a very big game for Jackson Dart because there was a little bit of chatter of if Jackson Dart didn't play well, do the Giants maybe look at finding another quarterback in the draft? Now, the way Jackson Dart played, I think he played well enough to kind of quiet that talk about replacing him for a little bit. And if he's able to have another big game going into next Sunday, maybe they don't think about replacing him. However, let's say they do lose, and let's say the Giants do end up with the number 1 overall pick. Do they take a quarterback? Potentially. What if they don't take a quarterback? What if they end up with the number 1 overall pick and they're happy with Jackson Dart? What would they do? There's a lot of talk about the Giants trading down, but I always say this with trading down. Trading down could be like selling your house. A lot of people want to sell their house, but they don't want to sell it for below market value. And getting the market value offer is not always easy. Teams aren't just going to call you just to do a favor. It takes a lot of back and forth and finding out the right price. So now if they are able to trade down, who would trade up? That's the $1 million question. Is it the Jets who need a quarterback? Yes. Now, are the Giants going to trade with the Jets and give the Jets potentially a franchise quarterback to weaken their home market? That's an interesting thing you got to look at right there.
Do you think that's what I'm saying? If you're the Giants GM, is that something that you're worried about, or are you worried about pumping up more draft choices?
I would think they would be more worried about themselves than another football team, even if it's in their own market. And if they feel like they're getting very good value from the Jets, I feel like they would be inclined to make that move. But it is something that you think about. I mean, look, we're not in the Giants brass. We're not talking about how we always compete with the Jets and stuff like that. I'm sure there's people in the Giants office that are like, no way we're ever going to we're going to try to do the Jets, not a favor, but try to help them out with a quarterback that could be marketable and could take fans away from the Giants. But the other thing is if the Giants are able to stay at that number 1 pick, do they take an Arvell Reese, and do the Raiders end up getting potentially whatever quarterback they want at the top of the draft? Now, this Thursday and 2 days from now, we're going to have a very big day for Raider fans, because not only does Fernando Mendoza, the leader in the clubhouse right now for the top quarterback to go, but also Dante Moore is going to play a very good Texas Tech defense, a Texas Tech defense that has guys like David Bailey and the linebacker Rodriguez. So they have a ton of good players on that defense. And Oregon right now is a 2.5-point favorite, and they're playing in Miami. So it should be pretty warm weather. There might be rain. It's Miami. But at the same time, this is going to be a very big day for a lot of people are saying Dante Moore has more upside. And the thing with upside is if you're going to take a guy with upside at the top of the draft, you want to see that upside on film. And this is an opportunity for Dante Moore to show he has that upside on film. Whereas with Fernando Mendoza, he wants to keep playing well and keep advancing because he doesn't want to have a hiccup and make people believe, he had a good season going up to date, but you remember that Alabama game, how he ended the season? It didn't end so well. So that's what he wants to avoid on Thursday.
And again, if you're Fernando Mendoza, the stats have already proven that 35 of his touchdown passes have come against subpar teams. He's only got 7 passes against top teams, and they're talking about Penn State, which is maybe a top team, Oregon, and Ohio State. So I saw enough of Fernando Mendoza, if my SpyTech hat is on right now, to see that he got slammed first play of the game. He gets his brother comes in for a play or two, if I believe it was 1 play or maybe 2. Then he comes back and he beats the best defense. And I'm going to say they're the best defense in college football, right there with Indiana. Indiana's a great defense as well.
Yeah.
So right now, if I'm John Spytek and I had to pick right now, I'm probably leaning towards Fernando Mendoza. Now, both of these guys are young guys, Oracle. Fernando Mendoza is 22, and Dante Moore, we just looked up, is 21. So
he's 20 right now. He'll be 21 in May.
He'll be 21 in May. At the draft, he will be 20. That's again, and Bo Nix was 26. Tyler Schlaw, well, he was 26. So
yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of teams that are they going to hold that against them? I hope not. But a lot of those guys we were just talking about were also in the COVID years too. So there's going to be some talk about those two. So right now we don't know who we're going to pick. Man, there's been a lot of talk too, Oracle, about trading that pick down. What have you heard about that?
It's funny. Lincoln Kennedy talked about that on the Squad Show yesterday, and he even brought up the Jets as a team that maybe the Raiders make a trade with, because now the thing with the Jets is they have an owner, Woody Johnson, who is known to meddle and is known to act out of desperation in the past.
Yep.
And when the people that do that, when they get tight, when they get a little nervous, that's when they want to trust other people. They want to trust the people they hire. But when they get tight, they kind of take the reins back and they're like, you know what, we're doing this. And are we going to have a same old Woody Johnson moment again where, and look, if that's the case, then whoever the GM of the Jets is, I forget his name, but he may be more inclined to make an offer that is more in the favor of the Raiders or the Giants to make sure he pleases his boss and secures that quarterback for him. So if that's the case, that would be a good thing. Look, there are several holes on this Raider roster. It would be good to trade back, but at the same time, you can't bank on that offer coming in. And if that's why it's good to have these top picks, because you have options. Do we stay? Who are we going to pick if we stay? Who's the guy that we're most confident in? There's not going to be a guy that you're just 100% confident in. You're going to have doubts about everyone, but who's the guy that you're most confident in? And if you're able to trade back, what's the plan? What's our plan of attack with each picks? Is it a Spencer Fano? Is it a Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs? What's the plan to build this team once you secure all those picks? And a lot of that's going to be answered once we know what the coaching staff going into the year for the Raiders is. Is it Pete Carroll? Is it someone else? So there's a lot of ambiguity right now. I mean, we don't know who's played yet as far as Mendoza and Moore. We still have more games to see them play. We don't know who the coaching staff is. So we have a lot to sort out. Another thing with the Indiana game on Thursday is there's a 95% chance of rain. So it might be a good opportunity to see Fernando Mendoza in some inclement weather.
And Dave Freitas, great question. Who has the most starts? I can tell you right now for a fact that it's going to be Fernando Mendoza because Dante Moore came in after Dylan Gabriel, and Dante Moore was at UCLA. It looks like Fernando Mendoza, I'm going to try to do the quick math for you. It looks like he played 2 years with, we all know he played with Cal, to my team. and then this year with Indiana. So right now he has a career 33 starts, which is, again, if you're going to talk to any college and pro scout, they want to see 20 starts from anybody before they make that decision. And let's turn this little object into Max Crosby. Okay, I don't really want to get into the TMZ about him and his videos and all that kind of stuff. But is there a possibility that the Raiders would trade Max Crosby?
I would not want to see that unless there's a point of no return. And that would mean Max Crosby wants out. Max Crosby is tired of the rebuilds. He wants to go to a contending team. And I understand he has the Raiders tatted on his body. But understand that there's still some more room on his skin for other tattoos. So he could definitely get another tattoo. But if Max Crosby wants to continue being a Raider, I really hope they're able to accommodate that. And because look, you want good play. You don't know that you're going to be able to get a haul of draft picks that are able to amount to a Max Crosby. I mean, what happened when the Raiders traded Khalil Mack? I mean, the only good player that they really got from that was Josh Jacobs. So I understand that people think they're going to get this treasure trove of picks, but picks turn into players, and those players don't always turn out. And if Max wants to continue being a Raider, I would definitely hope that the Raiders want to have him back too, pay him what he's worth, and are able to build a scheme that highlights his skill set the most and get him some supporting cast around that way he's not the only guy on the defense that really has to shoulder the load.
And that's going to be the $2 million question right now, is if all heads can prevail coolly and we get him to just relax. I know he's mad. And again, he's a competitor. He's a different guy. But let's go ahead and say Max Crosby played against the Giants and tore his Achilles heel, what would we be talking about right now? Brock Bowers played against the Giants and tore his Achilles against the Giants. Chin, same thing. What's that going to be? That would be like today and yesterday and Sunday night. Why the heck were we playing this guy when there was nothing left in the season for him to play for? And if you look at Max Crosby's injury report for the year, he's only practiced once in you got feedback, dog. Is that going through you? Yeah.
No, I can hear you.
Okay. So Max Crosby only practiced after week 3 one time during the week, other than Friday. He's always been a practice partner on Fridays, but DNPs, ever since that game with the Chiefs and Carroll, who I take everything he says with a grain of salt sometimes, because he did tell us he was a competitor and he was going to play the rookies. And then we had to wait for that too much, in my opinion. And we'll look at a rookie that really made his mark on Sunday, my opinion. I would tell you right now, I saw something from Amy Trask, and Amy Trask, who used to be the Raiders president when Al Davis was around. And she said, everybody relax. Max is not going anywhere. Tom Brady will not let him go. And so that was out of her mouth. Now, she's not a fan of Jim Gray's, but if I'm the Raiders, I hold on to assets. And they're a 2-13 team. They've been a 2-4 win team for the last few years. He's not doing nothing. Well, if you watch that game Sunday, Dad, I can tell you that Max Crosby would have made a lot of plays. That game would have been a lot closer. So, and if you did see the point spread when Max Crosby was touted out for this weekend, it went from the Raiders being a -1 to a Giants being a +1.5. A Giants being a -1.5. So there was some fireworks at the game, not in the stands, other than if you were getting your $2.99 hot dogs. But check this out.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Get that nigga! Get that nigga!
So we had a little fireworks during the game, and it wasn't really a close game. The Raiders made it a game a little bit when the Tyler Lockett scored, and then I didn't even want to post this video, not yet, not even. We're going to show that on the best and worst plays of the season next week. But they came back with a 95-yard touchdown, which he was not even touched. I watched that as soon as I sat down and looked up and the kick was gone. There was a yawning chasm, as the great Bill King would say, in the middle of the field, and he was not touched. So I didn't see the Raiders quit at all, but the Raiders were just outmatched. So there's a lot of people this weekend that are worried that we can beat the Chiefs. It really showed, in my opinion, this weekend, Oracle, that with not a healthy Jeremy Chin out there, and we slide Palomar into Chin spot, and then put Lonnie Johnson as a safety. What did you see from the Raiders defense this weekend?
Well, we saw a couple good plays. I thought some of the younger players, Darian Porter, Greedy Vance, had some moments, but a lot of missed tackles, a lot of continued Devin White missed tackles. This is a really good play from Porter right here. And this is a scramble drill that he's in as Jackson Dart gets out. And he's able to keep up with Darius Slayton here, and he's able to make a play on the ball. And look, we've seen a lot of really good moments from Darius Slayton. And watch Malcolm Kuntz right here going against the left tackle, getting a little pressure. Beats the left tackle with speed. Dart steps up. And then we're going to see Devin White come around. This is one of Devin White's better moments, closing in on the quarterback. He plays with a ton of speed. He has size and speed. He's a guy that I think the Raiders could bring back. They just need to find a different role for him. I think he needs to be the weak side linebacker, and they need to bring on another linebacker to be the every down Mike linebacker. But look, great play by Darius Slayton on the plaster drill. You know, that's a really tough play for a corner when the quarterback gets outside the pocket and then the receivers start to ad-lib. As a corner, you got to have really good balance to really keep up with your receiver and make sure that you're going wherever he's going and you stay with him. And then this is just a great play on the ball. Extend that arm and then knock the ball out. So the other thing, I want to see if you could rewind this play just for one more time.
Sure.
Is watch Isaiah Palomar. He's the deep safety at the bottom of the screen, right below the E. He's going to run with the tight end, and this is a cover one look right here, and he's the robber in cover one. So Lonnie Johnson is the cover one safety, and then the robber is Isaiah Palomar, who goes with the tight end right here on the crossing route. So this is just a really good play by him, and being able to keep up with the tight end. And look, I mean, if he would have gotten beat right here, then that would have been a catch, and that could have been a touchdown. And we know Palomar struggles tackling in space, so it was good that Palomar was able to keep up with him in man coverage.
You know, I'm a Devin White guy. I don't think that I think he's out of position. You know, people praise him for how many tackles he has. People are talking about him being the comeback player of the year. And
yeah, I saw that.
If you're a Raider fan, you see what he brings, and he cannot cover. He's not a cover guy. He was more of a cover guy back in his Tampa Bay days. And look, Father Time has caught up to everybody in the football field. And you'll see that with Travis Kelce this weekend. So with what Devin White does right here and the speed, and again, we were just talking about, did the Raiders quit? I don't know that I could say that. I just don't think the Raiders have talent. Look at that. He's coming in. He's coming in right at him and gives him his hello.
And forces a high throw right there by Dart.
He didn't get anything on that throw. Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll watch that one more time because you love that.
Yeah.
And I'm a Darian Porter guy, big time.
It wouldn't be the Mad Bomber podcast without showing something from Darian Porter. I think we've shown him like every week for the past month or two.
Got a man crush on him. I don't want to meet him because then I would be. So let's watch this. Boom. Boom. Watch his feet. Yeah. Boom. Plants. Boom. Boom. Okay, boom. He's right there with them. He's blank. He's the rookie who played wide receiver 2 years ago. So these are the plays that I bet he can really relate to. And then look, plants that foot, moves those hips. Look at the hips. Boom. Right there. And then comes up, left hand, right in front. Backhand's not making any contact. Clean play. Now we get to watch it from the end zone because he's my favorite. Again.
And Malcolm Kuntz had a pretty good day rushing the passer on Sunday. I think he got a sack in the game, if I remember correctly.
He did.
And
he had 3 hurries.
Yeah. So it's good that he's able to end. Hopefully he can end the year well. Does that mean the Raiders bring him back? I don't know. Does that mean he gets a payday with another team? Then that'd be good for him. But I don't know if he's kind of like the Dylan Parham on defense. Both are going to be free agents. And those are guys that I think the Raiders should have a number for, and they shouldn't exceed the number if another team exceeds the number.
Yeah, Dylan Parham's played really well on the last quarter of the season here because he's trying to get paid. Maybe he's doing everything he can to get paid, or maybe he just, the Raiders have put him in a good position. If I'm the Raiders, I don't know if I would bring Dylan Parham back. I wouldn't, but again, like you said, if the numbers are right and everybody's in agreement with this guy, again, JPJ has not been healthy 3 of the last 4 years. Okay. So can you count on him? Can you count on Colton Miller? I mean, that's kind of the thing that everybody wants to talk about. So let's take a look at another play here. And this is going to be our Charles Grant play. Let me rewind that. I messed that all up. Okay. So you're going to
so here he is
on the left tackle.
Yeah, end of the game here. This is right after the 2-minute drill. And he's playing left tackle there. And he's able to block his guy. Now, this is Timon Cox. He's a backup edge rusher for the Giants. So the Giants, I mean, they're throwing in the white flag here. But these are the reps you want to see out of Charles Grant when he gets in at left tackle.
Watch the handwork like a boxer that they talk about as a tackle you need to do. Look at that.
And the interesting thing with that pass blocking right there is he hits him one hand at a time. He doesn't get both hands engaged. He gets him with the left hand first, and then he hits him with the right hand. So again, those are the things that he has good balance with. And when you're pass blocking like that, you want to make sure your feet are tied with your hands together, because when your feet are going one way and your hands are going another way, that means you're off balance, and that gives the defender ability to push off, especially if they have longer arms. They could gain the leverage on you. But when your feet and your hands are tied together, that allows you to have a good base and play in balance. And this is a good rep right here by Charles Grant. And who knows, with Colton Miller coming back next season, could he be the right tackle of the future for the Raiders? Hopefully that could be the case.
Yeah. Hey, guys, if you like it so far, like and subscribe. We need those. We're trying to move forward. Next year's going to be a big, big, big difference from what you saw this year. So let's watch Charles Grant again for the last time on this play. And again, this is at the end of the game. They went ahead and let him go in for Stone Forsyth. And unfortunately, our guard, Mafi, came in for a sick Dylan Parham. Dylan Parham was allegedly sick. So Mafi came in and had a very, very, very tough day. Had a few holding calls and didn't really play. I think he gets a holding call on this play as well.
I think Dylan Parham was using up his sick days before the season's over.
It was PTO. He had some PTO.
Yeah.
Let's see that. Okay, let's see another one. Okay.
Yeah, so here he is, left tackle again. And look at the push he gets. He's just driving the guy a couple yards past the line of scrimmage. And this is an inside zone play that we're going to see, number 60 for – oh, no. He's number 60. He's the extra offensive lineman here. This is actually in the second quarter of the game. And they're running an inside zone. We got essentially 3 tight ends to the left because Charles Grant's an extra offensive lineman, being a tight end. And he's able to drive back the 5 technique of the Giants right here. Now, the one thing I would like to see a little bit of improvement with Charles Grant is I would like to see his helmet lower than the guy on the Giants. But he has such great strength that he's able to keep pushing him, even though he doesn't have the best leverage on the play. And if he's able to get lower and be able to be more consistent with being the low man, I think he could be an even better run blocker going forward. But we're already seeing the strength, and we're seeing a little bit of something that the Raiders could work with when you have this kind of play strength. He's kind of the opposite of Caleb Rogers. Caleb Rogers is always the low man, but he doesn't have the best play strength, whereas Charles Grant has the strength, but is always the higher man.
Again, it's nice to see these guys get some game time speed, game time activity, so that if they really want to work on their craft, and again, we don't know who's going to be the coach next year. If Brendan Carroll comes back, I highly doubt that that's going to happen. It's just been too much of a mistake so far with him. And I mean, both of these guys had a lot of starts in college. They were both very, very, very highly touted. We got them in the 3rd round. We traded down and got both of them within 3 picks of each other. These guys right now are going to be your future. In worst case scenario, they're going to be a swing tackle. What did you see from Alex Kappa on Sunday?
I thought he had a decent game. Wasn't anything killer in the run game, but I'll be honest, I wasn't paying attention to him too much. But I saw on PFF that he didn't really give up a whole lot of – I think he only had 1 hurry in pass protection. And when you're a center, it's a little bit unless they kind of send 5 or 6 rushers, that's when a center could really get exposed. A lot of times the center is more of the guy that's helping in pass protection. But we haven't seen a big liability game like we saw in the Washington game against him when he was at right guard that one game. So, look, maybe he's someone going forward next year. He could be a center, or he could be a backup offensive line. He could be the swing interior offensive lineman. Maybe you have JPJ playing center, and you have DJ Glaze at left guard, and you have Caleb Rogers at right guard.
Or Caleb Rogers at center. They've been working him in at center for the last 2 weeks. He's actually the 3rd string center on the flow chart there. So there's definitely in all perfect places. If we can get Cody Lindenberg, young guy, he's going to want tackle money. He's already talked about it. His agent's already putting it out. He's probably going to take the Adam Schefters and the.
You mean Tyler Linderbaum?
Tyler Linderbaum. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
From the Ravens. If they brought Tyler Linderbaum in as a young guy, and that's kind of how it was. We got Rodney Hudson when he was a little younger from the Chiefs, and he was a staple. If you want to remember how the Raiders did it back in the day, you had 3 centers in 25 years. You had Jim Otto, you had Dave Dalby, and then you had Don Mosbar. 3, that basically those 3 centers were exactly the same amount of centers as the Pittsburgh Steelers had and head coaches. Wow. You mean there was actually continuity on the Raiders back in the day. So, Kurt Huska. Kurt, why are you on Facebook? Dang you. Mendoza behind the current O-line is not going to equal victories. Absolutely not. It doesn't matter who you have behind the center if you don't have an O-lineman. So if the Raiders don't secure some free agents, we'll get into that. We've got into it before. We're not going to roll backwards tonight. But yeah, Husk, it's got to change. And I do believe that Caleb Rogers is going to start next year. Absolutely will start. Are they going to want to put Charles Grant in there immediately with Fernando Mendoza? And I don't even know if you do get more or for Mendoza or Malik Willis, as all the other Raider fans want. All the Raider fans that are now tuning into football and they're watching the primetime games on Saturdays and Sundays and Thursdays, they see Malik Willis have one good game, and the next thing you know, this guy's going to get Sam Darnold money next year, and he will. He's going to get somebody's going to take a stoolie on him. So there's definitely going to be an upgrade at the offensive line. If there's not, I mean, and there will be. I don't even want to go to that side of the fence. Spytek, Brady, all of them have watched what's happened to this team this year, and it starts with the offensive line. We've talked about getting our boy Ashton some help. We've talked about getting Brock some help. We need to get Fernando or Deontay, Malik Willis, or Geno Smith. I don't know if Geno Smith's going to be here next year. Do you think Geno Smith's going to be here next year?
Not after the boos I heard on Sunday. Absolutely not. That was the loudest that stadium got. So I think even Mark Davis, if he was in the bathroom, could have heard those boos.
He was on the field when that was happening because I watched the whole thing go down. They had Geno Smith come out, boos, and then they brought Ashton Jeanty out so that the Raider fans could actually have a little cheering, because that's probably the last time the Raiders fans got to cheers when Ashton Jeanty was announced. But there are some building pieces on this team on the offense. Obviously, the ones that are right in front of you, the Hall of Famer Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty, and I believe that Trey Tucker with a good quarterback. This guy's wide open all the time. At the top of 246 since he was drafted via the Darren Waller trade. This guy's been nothing but open, but the Raiders can't get the ball downfield to him. And so he's somebody that's formidable. We're not ready for George Pickens. We're not ready for any of the, as I call the snowflake on the top of the Christmas tree, since it's the holiday season. We're not ready for that yet. That Devontae Adams stuff that happens, you do it when you're the Rams, when you're ready to contest for a ring. We're not ready to contest for a ring. We're contesting to get a little continuity and get more Raider fans in the seats. But there's a guy that there's been talk every time there's a draft that he's about ready to get traded, and it's this guy.
Yeah, that's Michael Mayer. And look, he probably had his best game of the season this past Sunday. And no Brock Bowers, but a lot. And unfortunately, we haven't had too many games this year where him and Brock Bowers are on the field together. But this is a really good route that he runs. He's lined up in the slot, and he runs a little stutter like he's going to run an out route. And he just kind of fakes out Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles of the Giants right here, and he runs a slant. And there was no one really in the middle of the field. If there would have been a hook defender, the hook defender would have came in and picked him up. But that wasn't the case right here. It's man coverage. And look, it was a nice little pitch and catch for Geno. And this was on 4th down right here. So this was a big conversion. I think Mayer had 9 catches for 88 yards, something like that. But yeah, this was one of his definitely his best route run of the day. And then he was able to just get open right here and take advantage of the middle of the field being wide open, because it looks like it's cover 1 from the Giants right here. And it looks like it's cover 1. And I think the Giants rushed 5 right here, if I remember correctly.
And let's watch this move, because there's another 87 that's going to come in and play against us on Sunday who's perfected this move. And Patrick Mahomes has fed this move to him. That's a Kelsey move right there. Big time.
Yeah, definitely it is. And look, I mean, Kelsey's really good at finding the soft spot in the zone. And in this case, the Giants left the middle of the field wide open, and it was just the right play call by Greg Olsen to take advantage of it. Michael Mayer was able to beat a guy. And look, if we have an offense that features Ashton Jeanty as the number 1 back, Brock Bowers as the number 1 receiver, Trey Tucker as the number 2 receiver, and then the 4th and 5th options are Michael Mayer and Jack Besh, I think that's an adequate enough skill position group going into whoever the quarterback is. And if they are able to get some decent offensive linemen that were able to run the ball more, throw off play action more, I think you could start seeing all the other 4 players start performing a lot better.
And again, if you're Fernando Mendoza right now, you're not going to the Titans like Cam Ward did with nobody there. You had Tyler Lockett there. That was going to be your guy. The Raiders right now have weapons for Fernando Mendoza. He's just going to have some time. And that's a great pass by Geno. And let's go ahead and watch that blocking too. Let's watch this blocking too.
Yeah, they're in an empty set right here, so 5-man protection. And DJ Glaze gets beat a little bit, is able to recover. But look, yeah, the fact that Mayer's able to win really quickly and Geno's able to get the ball out quick allows this rush not to come home. Abdul Carter is going against DJ Glaze. Abdul Carter probably had the best pass rushing day for the Giants. He had a really good play where he blew up Trey Tucker on a jet sweep.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a 4-man rush because one of the guys is going to drop out and be kind of like a spy on this play. But DJ Glaze.
Watch 58. They're going to do exactly what everybody else has done to the Raiders, and Mafi picks it up. Watch this. They do that stunt where they get they run number 0 way wide and then pinch the center to leave that gap open, and then boom, he's right there. Because that play, like I said, back when we played the Patriots, Landry exposed the Raiders' offensive line for being too aggressive in the middle and not staying in their lanes. So that was a really, really nice play for them. This is going to be a shorter show tonight, guys. There's not a whole lot we can talk about right now with what the Raiders have played, how they've played. There's just been too much of a inconsistency from this team. So I'm going to put your Spy Tech hat on again, and maybe your Tom Brady hat on. Is Carroll gone? If you had one bullet to your head, and you had to make the right decision, is Carroll going to be back next year?
I think he's gone. Yeah, I think they're going to want to go offensive initially. I think Tom Brady's going to really use his network to get some organizational alignment for the Raiders. So we get a guy that is aligned with John Spytek and Tom Brady. And I think that will be the best thing for the Raiders going forward, is so we're not having all these leaks to whether it's Ian Rappaport via Chip Kelly or Jeremy Fowler leaking things. You know, I saw a thing today where apparently Ashton Janty was a Pete Carroll pick, and some guys, whether it be John Spytek and other people in the Raider front office, wanted Armand Membu. These are the things I really don't want to see, because that shows that this organization is not aligned and everyone's trying to cover their butt to the media so they all look good, and they're trying to make someone else look bad. So if the Raiders could have less leaks next year, I think that will be a good thing for them going forward. Are they going to go out and win a bunch of games? I don't know about that, but I think they could, as long as they win more than 2 games. If they go from 2 wins to maybe 6 wins, and whoever the quarterback is shows signs of promise, I think that will look good going into next year's offseason. So I think the Raiders are definitely going to want to get a coach that is aligned with the vision that Tom Brady and John Spytek have of how they think could build a winning football team. It's not so much about what scheme is going to be run, because there's no magic scheme. The players and the scheme and the front office all have to be aligned like a triangle. You're scouting the guys that fit the scheme. The coaches are coaching the guys that they find coachable. And then the scouting staff is going out and finding the guys that fit with how the coaching staff could mesh with them. So you're getting cohesion. You're getting they're building rapport. And you're not having these guys like, this is a Pete Carroll guy, this is a John Spytek guy. So that's the most important thing for the Raiders going forward, is getting organizational alignment.
And they got to let us know who's the top dog there, because not only are they letting us know, they're letting the rest of the league know, they're letting the players know that this is Spytek's team. And I don't ever think they're going to say this is Brady's team, but I will say, if Spytek is back, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will be back, and for next year, his draft was really, really good, but so was Tom Telesco's. Tom Telesco had a wonderful draft as well. If you were in talking to some of the people we talked to this weekend, I was talking about Tom Telesco's draft, and a lot of people thought that they did a good job by going after JPJ, in the second round, because he was ultimately a number one round, a first round talent. But because of his injuries, he did fall to 2. And now they're going to be like, well, maybe that wasn't a great pick. I am all on board with Dante Thornton. He had a wonderful catch that was out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds. But what I saw from him that Oracle and I have been yelling about him is that he hand fought for the first time, and he went out with his hands and caught a great ball. I should have put that on the videos tonight. Thornton looked like a decent guy on this weekend. He was filling in for an injured Jack Besh, which I don't understand what happened to him. But he took Jack Best's spot this weekend, and actually watched him block downfield. And it was impressive because I always thought he was soft. And this game, he did not look soft. He looked actually like he could play for the Niners, because everybody on the Niners, they block. Because I'm going to talk about the Niners. And yes, Kurt, I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of pulling coaches in and out. But there's a situation that the Raiders haven't had since 2007, and that's drafting a quarterback first. They're drafting a quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't believe that they're going to go down to get Spencer Fano. I believe that Arvell Reese is going to be the first non-quarterback taken. I would love to see Caleb Downs. I would trade back and get Caleb Downs to get rid of your Palomal problem. But I believe that the Raiders have to go ahead and get a quarterback, because this is the time. Derek Carr was a number 2 pick. Khalil Mack was a number 1 draft choice that year. They had Khalil Mack and Derek Carr as their 1-2 in 14. So with that, do you see the Raiders and Fernando Mendoza and Clint Kubiak a good match? Or do you see Dante Moore, the Raiders, and Clint Kubiak as a good fit? Kubiak runs that West Coast offense, which is good when it's working, but it's not an offense that it's easy to come back on if you're 14 points down.
Well, in Seattle, they run a lot of multiple tight ends, and they have AJ Barner, who was a late round pick out of Michigan, who's turned into a pretty solid player. And then they drafted a guy out of Miami, Elijah Arroyo. So they they have Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's turned into one of the best receivers in all football this year, and he's gotten Sam Darnold to play well. Now, look, whenever a coach, people think they're going to take the same scheme that they were in the old place and run it in the new place. But in the new place, you have different personnel. You don't have a Jackson Smith-Njigba. You have Trey Tucker, who's a good player, but he's not Jackson Smith-Njigba. You have Kenneth Walker in Seattle. But I think I would say Ashton Jeanty definitely has more promise than from the little bit of flashes we've seen this year than Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Another thing that the Raiders might want to figure out is maybe bringing in a second running back.
They're going to have to.
Yeah, to maybe take the load off of Ashton Jeanty a little bit and make sure he's not playing like 90% of the snaps, something like that. Because sometimes less of a back could be more. But at the same time, I think so much of it is going to come down to the interview process with a lot of these guys. And all these beat writers, all these bloggers, YouTubers can speculate based on, this guy was a successful coordinator here. Pair him with a young rookie quarterback, and that's the safe thing on paper to do. But when you interview, you got to ask these guys a lot. Al Davis was known in his interviews for asking very tough questions to his potential head coaches. And because Al Davis had such extensive knowledge of football, he would of situational football specifically. How do you handle certain? And hopefully the Raiders brass, who's interviewing, is asking these same kind of difficult questions to really understand how do these potential candidates handle certain situations? And because it's one thing to be a good coordinator in this scheme, but when you're going to be a head coach, you have to handle a lot of different things that aren't always related to on the field football. So you got to make sure that these guys are able to handle these really difficult situations. Besides, are we going to call play action on 2nd and 2? Are we going to run the West Coast offense? Are we going to do how much of the shotgun are we going to run? There's a lot more to it than that. Who are you bringing on defense? What kind of defense are you going to run? Are you going to run a lot of the how much? I understand we ran a lot of cover 3 this year. Are we going to do a complete 180 and go the Brian Flores kind of defense? Or are we still going to run a decent amount of cover 3, but just have a little more mixing up some things, a little more man coverage, a little more quarters coverage, a little more pattern match zone, cover 6. So a lot of things to figure out right here that I think as these people get hired, they're going to really answer a lot of the directions of where this team's going and really reveal the interview process that went into it.
I agree. I would love to, if Pete Carroll was not the choice for next year, I would love Brian Flores. I think that his defenses are they're impeccable. He knows how to blitz. He knows how to put pressures on. If you talk, I mean, I've never ever seen such a well disguised defenses as the Brian Flores defenses are. Kevin O'Connell is lucky to have that guy, and I would definitely interview him. I don't think he had a fair shake in Miami. And we'll go over that more and more in detail after the season as soon as we find out. Because what is it? Black Monday is approaching. We are less than 5 days away from Black Monday. That's when the pink slips are all down. Especially if the coaches are already gone, the front office knows they're gone. It's going to be interesting to see what Black Monday looks like. It's going to be, especially from the Raiders standpoint. So, Oracle, we have a special announcement. We will not have a show on Friday. You guys enjoy your we're going to be watching college football this weekend. This is the weekend. Oracle, what time does Indiana and our Fernando Mendoza play?
They both play on Thursday. I want to say the Indiana game.
I think it's at 1.
Early. Actually, I think that's the later game because that's the Rose Bowl. So that would make sense that's the later game. The Oregon is playing in Miami against Texas Tech.
I think
so that would probably be earlier. That might even be a morning game. It might be at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
And I think the Indiana is the 1 o'clock. But don't quote us, and we don't want to give false information. But what you should be doing on Friday, Bombers, or Thursday, Bombers, is you should be watching college football. Especially Oregon, especially Indiana, and you might want to watch a lot of Ohio State's defense because there's going to be a lot of guys that are on Ohio's defense right now that are flying up the ladder, and then we'll start talking about more and more guys that are that the Raiders could potentially get. Again, we got to find out what's going to happen to the Raiders. So hopefully. The Raiders are in a situation at 125 on Sunday that they already secured the number 1 pick. And you guys who want to tank, you know who you are, and nobody's judging you. Believe me, I don't know how I feel. I jump on the bandwagon this way. I jump on the bandwagon that way. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Now that I know that we have the number 1 or 2 picks, I'm watching more, see if Dante Moore's going to declare. More than anything, because I'm looking at worst case scenario, just in case. So we will see you on Monday where we will have the best of the Raider plays of this year. That's going to be a tough one to find. And then the worst of the Raiders play, which there's so many of them, that's going to be probably even harder to find. Oracle, see what the one's the worst. If you were going to close your eyes right now, close your eyes, Oracle. And what was the worst play of the Raiders this season?
Well, I think on defense, it was when that George Pickens touchdown, where he had a couple touchdowns against the Raiders. He took Kyle Blue Kelly to the woodshed, and hopefully Blue Kelly's recovering well.
Yep.
But Pickens, there was one where he caught the pass and no one could tackle him, and it was just kind of a perfect enigma of struggling to cover and struggling to tackle at the same time. On offense, I thought the same game where Ashton Janty got the safety.
Against the Broncos?
No, it was against the Cowboys in that same game. Where
Cowboys? That's right. It was the Cowboys.
Yeah, and the Cowboys defensive line was just kicking the butt of the Raiders. And for some reason, they call a run play right up the middle.
On the half-yard line.
Yeah, and the Cowboys just completely pushed the Raiders' line back and tackled Janty for a safety. And I think that was one thing that really got Chip Kelly in a lot of trouble, who is now the offensive coordinator at Northwestern. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Unbelievable how that guy keeps getting jobs. And then on special teams, it was the block punt against Denver.
Yep, those two would kill me. Guys, we will see you on Monday for more of the Bad Bobber Podcast. And if you guys are in the Bay Area this weekend, go to Johnny's Donuts. I'm going on Friday morning. I will be leaving for the Bay Area tomorrow, if anybody wants to know. I'm going to hang out with my granddaughter tomorrow night at the Great Wolf Lodge in Manteca. And then I will be driving to the Kansas City versus the Raiders on Saturday morning all the way to Kansas City. And then I get to watch football at home for the next month and a half. So I will not be putting my car on the charger all the way to Vegas every week. Oracle, I had so much fun with you this weekend, and I wish I could have taken a picture of you or took a video of you talking to everybody. It was like you were in your zone. You were such a happy lad. And I mean, look at that, Rich Gannon. I didn't get the picture with Rich Gannon, but he smelled that through the microphone. That's called my new perfume. It's called and I reek of jealousy on that picture right now. Look at that, Big Rich. Big Rich doesn't use just for men. He's straight up. He's straight up like, this is the way I look. Too bad. I got an AFC Championship ring. Oracle, we'll see you guys. We'll see everybody on Monday night. Be there or be square. Good night now.
Good night now.
Now it's Siani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The two tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great ball! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. Lamonica back, gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Biletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. Lamonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass, steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Touchdown, Oakland Raiders! I'm sorry I've lost my voice. Kenny Stabler goes all the way, 30 yards.